my name is Stacy Chin, and I'm an artist. And I did this piece. It's entitled Urban Shawl. For the Lexington Art League has an exhibition. It's going on right now called Sight, where artists came in and responded to the building and then made site-specific installations in the Loudon House. So the sister show to that site show was Off-Site, where I think 20 artists, they invited 20 artists to put pieces, installations out around Lexington. They're all community artists living nearby here. And so I chose to do some knitted shawls, Afghan-like things, for McConnell Springs, because I think this is a sort of a hidden jewel. And I was surprised when I had told a couple people that I was doing this piece. They're like, gosh, I haven't been there in a long time. I thought it was the perfect environment for the piece, and hopefully people will kind of come out here and take a break from their iPads and computers and cell phones and take a little walk and notice the trees. There are 6 individual sites. One site has 2 trees that I've done, so 6 trees, 5 sites, 6 trees. And they're all knitted from this flagging tape, which is typically used for forestry purposes, marking tape. My original idea was to use some of the flagging tape that industrial companies use for development or construction. And it's kind of funny that McConnell Springs is right next to a very odd little industrial area and on the outskirts of downtown. So I was going to use some of the materials that they use in development, which is usually where they take the trees down. And in this case, I'm sort of protecting them with shawls and decorating them with this material that is biodegradable, so it could stay up there for a while and not harm the trees. And it's kind of a non-traditional material to be knitting, but it worked out really well. And I've done a lot of knitting in my sculptures more recently, and I kind of like that it's a very meditative sort of process, and it's typically still kind of considered domestic work, like maybe little grannies sitting at home. That's what people tell me anyway. So I like taking that kind of traditional way to make something that's normally for inside and making it for the trees out here. I made my own knitting needles from dowel rods and just furniture ends, because the pieces are so large that, you know, standard needles are really not going to work. So by the time I did all that and got started knitting, I pretty much knitted every day for several hours for a little less than a month. Yeah. And originally I came out and took measurements of the trees and knew which trees I wanted to use. I knew that I wanted to use these 2. And then kind of make sort of this one splitting into 2. But, so I had to take measurements, and then there's a little bit of play when you're knitting with that size, and you know, I couldn't do it exactly to the measurement, so, but it worked out really well. And it's just a standard knitting stitch. It's just a stock, some of them are stocking knit stitch and garter stitch. They're just really plain knitting stitches, but they do have a lot of pull to it. So it worked great, because if the tree kind of goes out and then goes back in, it'll adapt to the tree. So I knew I wanted to do this one because the 2 trees intertwine, and that to me is very interesting. And in the environment that, you know, there's all these trees and these 2 have decided to sort of grow together. And then I also chose one, I wanted to put them different areas, so as you're walking through McConnell Springs, they kind of sneak out at you. They're not really close to the path, most of them. They're sort of like little surprises. And another piece that's in there are 2 trees that sort of mimic each other, and so they're each knitted. Just kind of whatever sort of stood out in the location that I wanted. So I kind of am used to making smaller object-oriented sculptures and paintings and so forth. So this was really great. I mean, it was kind of an eye-opener for me that I not only was out in nature, I mean, I had to climb the trees and hug the trees to make these things, and just for the community involvement and hopefully to get people to come out and see them, and while they're here, take in this beautiful place that they may have overlooked. So it was really an important piece for me as far as my development as an artist.